A very good afternoon to you. Welcome back to the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, half an hour outside of Barcelona city centre. Now a good afternoon to you. Just ticked on to 1 o'clock here in sunny Spain. Jack Appleyard alongside Elliot York, bringing you action from the FIM CEV Repsol Championship as the European Talent Cup guys make their way out onto track. Just the one race for them this weekend. We've been treated to some Junior World Championship and Moto2 action at the start of the day, and now it's time for the kids to take over. The European Talent Cup is going to be the showpiece spectacle that it always is. Last time out in Valencia, we're treated to two absolute beauties. In the end, it was Izan Guevara that took the victory, but boy oh boy, did he have to work for it.
He did indeed, as we see Lorenzo fell on well, as you can see there, running wide several times during race one, which led to him ultimately having a long lap penalty, so he would finish outside the top six in the end, as we see a last lap collision. But yeah, like you say, in the end it was Guevara who took the spoils in race one, and he repeated it in race two.
Yeah, the number 28 aboard the Circuit de Campeones machine was fairly dominant in the end. European Talent Cup is always elbows aplenty with Dirk Geiger. He'll start from the front row in this one, getting his elbows out. That is number 54, Fermin Aldeguer. He had a disaster last time out, but you cannot write him off as well. He's well in contention this time around, as he was at the start of the season in Estoril. But due to that double victory, it's Izan Guevara that leads the championship as we make our way into the fifth race of the season here in Barcelona. 15 laps are on the card for these guys. As we know, Barcelona holding 6 left-handers, 8 right-handers, throwing up drama aplenty. It's fast, it's tricky, it's technical. It is one of the best circuits in the world. Yep,
agreed. Very good circuit, and it's a rider and fan favourite too. Long, straight, tight, twisty sections, and fast sweeping corners. It has got everything in it. It's nice to see the return of the penultimate corner, the classic turn 12?
Turn 14.
Turn 14.
Obviously, they did have the chicane in place over a few years ago, but they've now, due to a couple of amendments, resorted back to the traditional stadium section as you go into the tight turn 10 and then flick left for turn 11, and it's right for 12, right for 13, building up all the way before the fast turn 14. Obviously, memorable turn 14 where the battle between Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo boiled down to all those years ago. Hopefully we get some of that last lap, last corner action in this one as we get underway. Sun is trying its best to shine through. Temperature 25 degrees. Track temperature has risen since we came on air at 11 o'clock, up to 30 degrees now, but it certainly won't be proving too much of a problem, the sunshine, because it is rather cloudy despite the temperature being pleasant here in Barcelona. That's your championship leader and your pole man as well, Izan Guevara, after a fairly middling opening round to the season in Estoril with a 10th and an 8th place. He bounced back with 2 race wins in Valencia, just gets a nice little slap across his helmet from one of his team members as well, looking fairly comfortable on pole position. As you can see from his age, just 14 years of age, this is the European Talent Cup where the stars of the future are born. There's really nobody over the age of 16 in this one. They're all 12, 13, 14, 15, and walking through the paddock yesterday, it is frightening seeing some of these 12-year-olds in leathers, but then they go out and post some super quick lap times. It
really is. These are the stars of the future, and it's where it all begins for them. Second on the grid is Daijiro Sacco.
A great start for the Circuit de Campeones squad because they're first and second on the grid. Daijiro Sacco is officially down as Japanese, but his dad's Spanish, his mum is Japanese. He was named after his Daijiro Kato. So he's a rather famous first name, and obviously runs the 74 in honour of Daijiro Kato as well. This is by far and away his best performance of the season so far, to be up in second. He incidentally topped Group B, where it was Izan Guevara that topped Group A because of the number of riders that they have in the European Talent Cup. They have to split them into 2 sections for qualifying and free practice, a Group A and a Group B, and I would love to explain to you how the grid works from there, but it seems to me a bit of a lottery because of the fact that there's so many people that get grid penalties, as is almost traditional now in Moto3 since they've gone to the Q1, Q2 format. We don't see it as much, but people languishing on the racing line and all sorts of other things as well. We see people get grid penalties, so it should be AB, AB, but it ends up all over the place. What we do know is that Dirk Geiger will start from the outside of the front row of the grid, full of confidence, the German rider, after a double podium finish in Valencia.
Yeah, sixth in the championship for the German rider, Kaifer Racing team member, 49 points. So, yeah, a good couple of races. Last time out in Valencia for the European Talent Cup riders, 2 third places, and a 4th to start his season in treacherous conditions in Estoril, and then a 12th in race 2 in Portugal as well.
Here's Jose Rueda, quite a familiar person holding his umbrella as well. That is, of course, Kev Coughlin, a former Moto2 World Championship competitor and European Moto2. Also had a foreign British Supersport as well. Now working as part of the Monlau Repsol School as a bit of a coach, helping out the European Talent Cup riders and the Junior World Championship as well. And obviously the talent team, Estrella Galicia, have 3 riders in this one, as they do in the Junior World Championship as well. And it's Rueda, the best of them so far.
Here we see the number 54 of Fermin Aldeguer, the Spaniard, on the Best of Capital Dubai bike. As you can see, they're not the best of starts, 23rd in the first race at Estoril, but then a 4th, a 2nd, 2 quality results, and then a top 10 in the second race in Valencia. Puts him nicely in 5th in the championship on 40 points, the 14-year-old. He'll be hoping to add to his podium tally from the middle of the second row.
No pressure, but he's got his fan club here as well.
Yeah, nice to see that. 14 years of age, you've got your own fan club.
You can certainly spot them a mile off, can't you? Bright yellow, the Fermin Aldeguer fan club. You mentioned that 23rd place finish in Estoril. He actually crashed and got back on board the bike. So again, another man that will be spitting feathers over the fact that they've got an early DNF to really sort of put a halt into the championship credentials at this early stage. But there's a long way to go. Lorenzo Fallon, after a very disappointing start to the season in Estoril, got back to the form that we're used to seeing from him with 10th and 5th. Fallon, a name that might be quite familiar to those in the MotoGP paddock over recent weeks, because his dad was the man that had managed Johan Zarco for a number of years before he went his separate ways with Zarco, well, no more than a month ago. Lorenzo Fallon, that is, on the outside of row number 2, was, I'm sure still is, good friends with Johan Zarco and spent a lot of his time with him as a kid, and I'm sure he's picked up a few tricks from the 2-time Moto2 world champion.
Yeah, not a bad person to learn your tricks of the trade off, is it? Johan Zarco, as we see 7th place, Alex Milan, 20th in the championship currently, 8 points to his name. Not the start he would have been looking for. But
he's a very good rider, is Alex Milan.
Absolutely, absolutely.
He won in Albacete in the European Talent Cup last season, so he has got the potential to challenge at the front, which he is doing now. In the end, it was a real roller coaster first season in the Talent Cup, because he finished 18th overall in the championship despite that 25-point haul at Albacete. It were in wet conditions, so you could say he's probably slightly better suited to when the weather isn't anywhere near what we have now, but he's starting to prove that he can compete in the dry as well as the wet.
Here's Clément Rouge. I think I've said that in the correct French term. Yeah, Valencia, nice solid top 10 there in race 1, 9th, and then another point in the bag in 15th. So yeah, he'll be, from 8th on the grid, he's in a great position to challenge for the top 10. So hopefully for the 16-year-old Frenchman, he can add to that points tally and move up from 19th in the overall standings.
Doubling up between this championship and the Red Bull Rookies this year, that 9th place finish in Valencia last time out was his best ever result in the European Talent Cup, and he's trying to improve on that again with the best ever qualifying of 8th place. Shortly we're going to see the man on the outside of row number 3, Diogo Moreira, the Brazilian. Here he is. He had a bit of an off in qualifying yesterday, battered and bruised, but he's made his way to the grid nevertheless. A consistent start to the season, 6th place, 6th place, 8th place, sees him 8th in the championship, but are hoping to take that one step further and really cement a place inside the top 5. Another one of the Monlau Repsol Technical School guys, with obviously the Estrella Galicia backing.
Yeah, solid start to the season for Diogo Moreira, the talent team Estrella Galicia rider. We'll shortly see number 10 on the grid, David Alonso, the number 80 rider.
It's good to see him back on the grid in the European Talent Cup, because despite a strong start to the season with a podium in Estoril, he actually didn't even qualify at Valencia at the second round of the season, which was an absolute disaster for him. As a result, he's dropped down to 10th place in the championship. He did go on to win the European Talent Cup Series 2 race, which is the last on the build today between the riders that didn't manage to get inside the 40 qualified riders. So he went on to win that, but doesn't count for championship points. Really of little consolation the fact that he was able to go on to win that one, because I'm sure he was still bitterly disappointed he missed out on qualification in Valencia. But he's back onto the grid here in 10th place, hoping to make up for what he lost out in Valencia.
Here is Joan Rodriguez, another one of the Spaniards on the grid in the European Talent Cup. Yeah, Valencia, 2 point scoring finishes, 23rd in the championship with 5 points. So an 11th place start for Rodriguez. He can definitely aim to, well, push for the top 10 for sure. And if not, then get some more points in the bag.
As we mentioned earlier, Ivan Ortola, we probably won't get to see him on the grid because he's all the way down on row number 8 of the grid. He's a man second in the championship at the moment, but that is a grid worth keeping your eye on, because alongside him is Marcos Uriarte, who was handed a grid penalty yesterday, and it saw him shuffle backwards. It should have been, incidentally, on row number 4 of the grid. Instead, he'll start from row 8, so he has got the pace to compete inside the top 10. But here's the starting grid for the European Talent Cup race here in Barcelona.
Row 1 is Izan Guevara, Daijiro Sacco and Dirk Geiger. Row 2, Jose Rueda, Fermin Aldiguea and Lorenzo Felon, the Frenchman. Row 3 is headed by Alex Milan with Clement Rouge and Diogo Moreira completing that third row.
You can see the pace differential between them there is quite stark. A good lap from Guevara to pole position.
Row 4 is Alonso, Rodriguez and Cruces. Row 5, Gorbet, Munoz and Torreselas. Row 6 is Mayor and the 2 British riders, Seabright and Watling.
Seabright with a good ride in the British Talent Cup at Donington a few weeks ago, hoping to back that up here.
Michael Bulik is 19th with Planges and Van der Gorberg in 21st. Julio Garcia, Marcos Uriarte, who we've just mentioned, and Ivan Ortola again, who we've just mentioned. Eric Fernandez, Tapia and Alfano. Matteo Falzoni, Marcos Ruda and Bin Azam round out row 10, with row 11 looking like this: Palazzi and Garcia.
Garcia, another one to have been handed a penalty, but he only got shuffled back 6 places as a result of it, because he went straight to the back of the grid. It should have been a 12-place grid penalty, but he couldn't have gone a further 6 places back. So he'll have to start from dead last on the grid as a result of that. The crowds are in here in Barcelona ahead of race 3 of the day. The European Talent Cup always lives up to expectation. It's always a close fight at the front. And if qualifying is anything to go by, we're in for a belter. Just 28 thousandths of a second separate the 2 Cuna de Campeones team riders. Number 74, who leads out on the warm-up lap, Daijiro Sacco, and the man who leads the championship on pole position, Izan Guevara.
I think we're in for an absolute cracker here, Jack. Yep, like we've just said, barely anything to choose between the top riders as they come round to complete their warm-up lap. Round 4 of the CV Repsol, but round 3 for these guys, because they weren't racing in Le Mans like the Moto3 Junior World Championship was.
You can see a couple of moments ago, the number 20 of Jack Hart. Good to see him on the grid as well. So all 3 Brits that on the entry list here for the European Talent Cup have managed to find themselves on the grid. Keep your eye on. We'll see if they can manage to make their way through the field. Fenton Seabright on row 6, 17th, alongside Josh Watley. Jack Hart a little bit further back on row number 12 of the grid. Jack Hart and Fenton Seabright are part of the British Talent Cup series this year, with both of them having picked up podium finishes so far this year. Jack Hart at Silverstone at the opening round of the year, and Fenton Seabright at Donington Park over the national circuit rather than the GP track a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they'll all be back in the British Talent Cup when the World Superbike paddock do the longer loop of Donington Park at the end of June, or is it July? I think it's end of June.
End of June, I believe it is. So that's the championship as it stands at the moment. Just the one race today. The men to keep your eye on: Guevara on pole, Ortola back in 24th on the grid. Munoz is 14th on the grid, and Dirk Geiger is on the outside of row number 1 in 3rd. So a very tough job for Ivan Ortola. It looks like Guevara and Geiger look to be the men from qualifying that are going to run away with a slight championship lead as we head on towards Aragon in a month's time. But there's 15 laps ahead of them. Anything can happen. We've seen a number of men in the Junior World Championship come through from further back than 30th on the grid to challenge for the top 5, and if it's going to be a group pack at the front as we expect, that does give the opportunity for a number of the men slightly further back on the grid to get involved in the fight.
Does indeed. Lining up on the grid then. Who will get the best launch down into turn 1? And the slipstream is going to count for this European Talent Cup race more than any other race we've seen, so watch out for that.
Well, there's a problem. That's the number 92, Diego Moreira. It's a disaster for the Estrella Galicia squad again, because we saw this in Estoril at the first round of the season. Both Moreira and Rueda, who were first and second on the grid, had to be wheeled off then before the warm-up lap even started. It's happened again for Moreira, and he'll have to start from pit lane. So there's a place on the outside of row number 3, but the front row is complete now. The lights go on. Wait for the jump from Guevara from pole position. Is it a good one? It might not be the best. It's going to be close. Sacco has probably got the best drive from second on the grid, and it's going to be the number 74, the Japanese rider, to lead them down to turn 1. But in these European Talent Cup bikes, it is a long run down to turn 1, and Guevara, despite not the best start, tucked in behind Sacco and then pulls out to get the whole shot into turn 1, with Geiger as well also making his way past Sacco on the run through the opening corner. There's Moreira. He eventually gets away, but what a job he's got in his hands now. Yeah, massive job at Guevara, late on the brakes there into turn 1 to keep the whole shot from P1 on the grid, and it's Dirk Geiger moving up past Sacco as well. Sacco having a look there, but not quite. So yeah, it is Dirk Geiger who got the better of Sacco into turn 1 as Guevara looks to make an early break. Who's that taking the car park route there? It was the number 5 of Lorenzo Fallon going a long way wide at turn number 4. No jump starts, which is good to see as well. But at the front, Guevara is already starting to pull away, and Fermin Aldeguer can see that. The number 54 past Sacco now, and he's got to set his sights on the number 6 of Dirk Geiger, because the man that leads the championship, the man that was on pole position, the man searching for 3 wins in a row, is starting to break clear, but Aldeguer is up for the fight, straight under the inside at turn 9 of Dirk Geiger, and now he's going to try to close in the early race leader. Yeah, Guevara, this is exactly what he did in Valencia, got the whole shot, got the break in the early stages, and that was goodbye for the rest of them. But can they close the gap down? It's Aldeguer leading the way so far from Geiger, Sacco, Alonso, Rueda, Milan, Rouget and Fallon, and Cruces, your top 10 so far. That was the number 95 of Rueda, just making a move on the way into turn 10. Only 13 years of age is Rueda, and he stands a little over 4'10". He is tiny as Jose Rueda, but boy is he fast on a motorcycle. Meanwhile at the front, Guevara, what is his lead over the line? We'll see if Aldeguer can close him in at all on this next lap. It was 0.9 of a second, sorry, 1.2 seconds over the line. Guevara, we promised a group fight at the front, but he's got other ideas. He really has, yeah, 1.3 seconds, well, 1.2. Pretty much 1.3 seconds on the first lap is an absolute barnstormer, as we see Dirk Geiger challenging for second, but he can't quite make it stick. They need to stick together. They need to not battle each other out if they're going to catch Guevara, because he is on his way. It's going to take a little bit of common sense here, which probably there isn't that much in the European Talent Cup. These guys, young guys, all fighting from the first lap to the final, and I'm sure Dirk Geiger could do, as you rightly say earlier, just with sitting in behind Aldeguer, unless he feels he's got the pace himself. But the last thing they want is Guevara to break clear, which he is doing at the moment. But Aldeguer has got some clear track ahead of him, and he has managed to put a little bit of space between himself and Geiger in third place. So can he close in? We wait for them to go through sector 1, where it was Guevara who was quickest, and then in sector 2 Aldeguer quickest, but we're talking thousandths of a second difference. The pace pretty similar between the man's first and second at the moment. The gap staying constant at 1.2. Yeah, both in Estoril and Valencia, we saw several riders tapping the back of their machine saying, please stick behind me, I've got the pace, let's go get the man in front. And that's exactly what Aldeguer should be doing if he's not already done it, and I think the guys are listening, because he has got the pace by the looks of it to lead that group, maybe not catch Guevara, but lead that group to Guevara. bit of a bobble from Lorenzo Fallon means that they just start to group up behind him. It's David Alonso on the Samakata Angel Nieto machine. He's got a podium to his name so far this season. It just gets held up by Fallon, just running wide at turn 10. Meanwhile, at the front, Aldeguer has broken clear of Geiger, and I don't think he's been able to pull in Guevara at the front by any great margins whatsoever. It was 1.2 last time around. They come across the line now. It's increased by 1/10 of a second. Oh, it's Jose Rueda. Who was that getting pushed out onto the grass? I think it was number 23 of Alex Milan on the white line on the outside of the track. Just about keeps it on the tarmac rather than onto some of the shrubbery, but that was a close call.
Yeah, close shave there. I'm just looking at Ivan Ortola's progress. He's up to 14th, so in the points already for the number 24 Samakata Angel Nieto team rider. So good opening couple of laps for him.
But it's damage limitation whilst the man out front was going to extend his championship lead. Aldeguer is trying to close in. Meanwhile, the battle for 4th place is heating up. Sacco second on the grid, involved in a scrap for 4th, who currently, well, 3rd place you could argue now, because Geiger's just getting sucked in. Sacco onto the rear wheel now. Rueda's looking pretty good there as well. Alex Milan as well. And then on the back of that gaggle for the final podium place is Lorenzo Fallon, the Frenchman, at number 5 there. Not really in contention just yet, but I'm sure in half a lap or so he'll be right onto the rear wheel of Milan. Yeah,
100%. He was one of the guys at the front in Valencia, so again showing some good paces, the Frenchman, as Aldeguer 0.8 second lead over Dirk Geiger now, so he's well on his way. Well, he's not closing him down as such, but he's not letting Guevara edge out that gap any more than he is at the minute.
Here comes Rueda looking up the inside of Tajira Sacco, but no way through on that occasion. Rueda with almost a Leon Haslam style changing down the gears as he flaps his leg in and out as he makes his way down the box on the run into turn number 10. But Geiger coming under some pressure now for that final podium place. The German, followed by a Japanese rider, followed by a Spaniard, and another Spaniard and a Frenchman as well. The European Talent Cup living up to its name there.
Yeah, let's see who can get the run down the straight as the slipstream comes into effect. Sacco pulls out the slipstream and gets by the number 6 of Geiger.
As does Rueda as well. He's drafted past Geiger, and now looks like Milan's going to have a go on him as well. So he was 3rd as they went across the line, but he's now been shuffled backwards to 5th place. So a big look up the inside, and that's a great move from Lorenzo Fallon. Oh, superb stuff from the Frenchman. Just lined it up brilliantly through turn 1 around the outside to make sure he had the inside run into turn 2. And slips up past Jose. No, it wasn't. It was... Who was it who was getting the better of? Alex Milan it was, to move up into 6th place now for Lorenzo Fallon.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on the front. Guevara, as you saw on your screen, set the fast lap of the race, but only just a 10th quicker than your man in 2nd, so that gap is eking out slightly each lap. Can Aldeguer pull him in? We're not sure, but he has pulled away from the likes of Rueda, Sacco, Fallon, Geiger and Milan for this battle for the final podium position at the moment.
And now Dirk Geiger all the way back to 7th place because Milan's got the better of him. So half a lap ago he was sniffing a podium, and now he's all the way back in 7th place at the bottom of this 5-rider fight for the final podium place. The fact that Jose Rueda has got to the front has just seen the elastic stretch ever so slightly. I think the Rueda has got the pace to possibly maybe close in on Aldeguer ahead of him. He's certainly going to be trying his best as he slams down the box there to then flick right in towards turn number 12. Fallon looks like he's confident of going with the young Spaniard as well. But at the front, Aldeguer has pulled in a little bit, about 1/10 of a second, maybe 2/10 of a second. There is still 12 laps to go, so a long way to go in it. But at the moment, Guevara looking fairly comfortable out front.
Yeah, he is. Fallon there at turn 10, the notoriously not easy passing place, but notoriously good passing place, getting under the number 74 of Sacco. So Fallon, the number 5 rider, is on the move. Will he make a move into turn 1? No, he won't. As the number 23 of Alex Milan goes around the outside and holds it.
Are they closing in on 2nd place? That's the big question. No, it doesn't look like they are. Aldeguer is, as we said, within 1.2 seconds of the leader, and in this battle for 3rd place, led by that man, the number 95 of Jose Rueda, 1.4 or 1.3 on your screens adrift of the man in 2nd. Further back on that, Ivan Ortola, 2nd in the championship at the moment, 11th. So a decent damage limitation job for him at the moment, but that's all you can call it. It's damage limitation after a poor qualifying yesterday, saw him start from 24th on the grid. That's a problem for Marcos Ruda. Where was he competing? He was a long way back on the grid, I believe, was Marcos Ruda, who was incidentally all the way back on row number 10 of the grid. So after a disappointing Saturday, it's a disappointing Sunday for the Cuna de Campeones man. But fortunately for that team, they have got someone out front fighting for the win, and the man in 6th place at the moment, in Tajira Sacco, fighting for a podium place. But in that fight, it's Rueda who's hit the front 2 laps ago and is looking quite comfortable at the moment. He hasn't been able to pull in any advantage on Aldeguer in 2nd, but he is just stretching the advantage. And as a result, Dirk Geiger, who held that early 3rd place in the opening laps, has just been tailed off the back. So Geiger doesn't have the pace to run with the front guys, it appears, and the 6th is going to quickly fall into the clutches of Adrian Cruces, Marcos Uriarte and a number of other guys in that battle for 8th place at the moment. And talking of Marcos Uriarte, we pinpointed him before the race got underway. A 12th place grid penalty saw him start from 23rd on the grid, already through to 9th. And right on the tail of Adrian Cruces as the 4 abreast in the battle for 3rd place, with Alex Milan coming out on top thanks to a fastest lap of the race from the young Spaniard. Lorenzo Fallon now up into 4th, and Rueda shuffle back to 5th place, but that fight isn't doing them any good whatsoever. The advantage to 2nd place has now just increased. Meanwhile, at the front, we could have a race on our hands. A personal best lap from Aldeguer has seen him get to within a 2nd of Guevara for the first time in this one.
Yeah, he is. Just over a 2nd is his disadvantage. So, yeah, I think we could see a potential fight on for the win. Oh, that's a twitch from Alex Milan running wide at turn 5, allowing both Fallon and Rueda to dip underneath him. And Rueda, is he going to make a move on number 5? No, not quite. Fallon late on the brakes. But, yeah, huge moment there for Milan as he was in 3rd place.
We're seeing another time penalty handed out, this time to Soma Gobra. In case you were wondering, we do have the long lap penalty in effect, but it's clearly not been implemented because of shortcuts. I believe the rulings say it can only be implemented. Is it for track limits, or does that a time penalty as well? I believe, is it possibly for taking a position when they shouldn't do or something like that? Personally, what's the point of having the long lap penalty if you're not going to use it? But yes, the 1.5 second penalty for cutting over turns 1 and 2 has been handed to Soma Gobra as a result, instead of him taking the long lap penalty, which incidentally is at turns 1 and 2.
Yes, but let's turn our attention to the front, because the gap is now 0.7. The 2nd place man, Aldeguer, is on a quick lap. Let's see what the time is as they come over with 9 laps now to go. What is the gap?
3/4 of a second. Aldeguer is on the move. Just set his fastest lap of the race, a 1:52.8, 0.4 of a second quicker than the race leader, and it's visibly on the screens now. The number 54 is closing in on the race leader. With 9 laps to go, we've got a race on our hands.
We really have. To get the gap to 2nd is now 2 seconds, so I don't think the guys in the gap to 3rd is now 2 seconds, so I don't think the guys in that battle are going to challenge for the win, but Aldeguer certainly is. The number 54 rider is on a charge.
Meanwhile, the battle for the final podium place, 3rd place, is raging as well. Rueda back to the front of that one, with Milan now in 4th. It looks like Fallon has been shuffled back to 5th, and Sacco, who incidentally has the fastest lap of the race. No, sorry, it's the man in 4th, Milan, that holds that at the moment, but Sacco did post a very fast lap this last time around to see him close in on the rear of Fallon, who had a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 5 there before they moved through turn 6. But Rueda, the diminutive Spaniard, is just holding on to 3rd place at the moment as they go through turns 7 and 8. Back at the front though, and it's to within half a second. Aldeguer is all over the rear wheel, or will be all over the rear wheel of Guevara, and surely it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, he's swarming like a fly. He's swarming like a fly now, isn't he? I'll get my words out eventually. On the race leader, Guevara, as we see the battle for 3rd into turn 10, it's still Rueda leading Fallon, Milan and Sacco on the back of that group, who will come out on top in this battle for the final podium position. But we're going to concentrate now on the leaders. It's, like Jack said, 0.5. Is Aldeguer going to post another personal best lap time with 8 laps to go as we cross the line? Let's see the times as they take another lap off the race.
He's got plenty of time now, there's Aldeguer. He's just set the fastest final sector we've seen in the race altogether to make it within 0.4 of a second. And you can see with the slipstream, he's right in behind Guevara. I was about to say he can take his time and pick a point to go past Guevara, but what's the point of doing that when you can move past straight away? He's closed in at a rapid rate of knots, and now he feels he can pull away, but Guevara's got different ideas. He's finally got competition at the front, and he moves straight back past, but he runs wide at turn 3, and that's going to allow Aldeguer to move straight back past straight away. The pair of them swap in places, corner after corner. Aldeguer will hold it. Oh, this is the fight that we're after.
It absolutely is. What a fight between Aldeguer and Guevara at the front, and it is Aldeguer who has taken the lead. What a couple of laps it has been for the number 54 rider, and he holds it into turn 5. Nice clean moves there from the youngsters as we count down the laps. 7.5 to go. We've got a right battle for the lead as we see another shortcut at turn 1 and 2 for number 13.
Here comes Guevara back under the inside of Aldeguer. He's going to run wide though onto the green stuff. That is over track limits. We'll have to keep our eye on that. He might get a warning for that one. He goes back into the front though as he go through turn 9 now. Aldeguer is surely going to tuck him behind. Guevara on the run down the back straight. Certainly is. He's going to pull out. He's going to make a move on the run into turn 10, which he does on the brakes to retake the lead. So what's that? The 5th time this lap. Make it 6 now as Guevara fights back. That these two have swapped places, swapping paint at every corner, and we've still got another 8 laps of this one to go. 7.5 remaining, slightly wide from Guevara. Gives a bit of a sniff for Aldeguer to move straight back past, but he holds on, and it's... I was going to say it's going to be interesting to see how Guevara reacts after leading for half of the race without any problems, suddenly to have a fight on his hands, but it looks like he's up for the scrap.
He is well up for the scrap, but here comes the number 54 of Aldeguer out of the slipstream. Will he draft past? I think he will. Yes, he will. Is the gap to third coming down after these two scrapping? I don't think it quite is. I think these two have got an imperious pace, as we see in number 54 now lead again. As Guevara settles into second, Aldeguer last lap 4/10 quicker.
As they now go into turn 3 and move once again, looking up the inside, showing his front wheel from Guevara. Couldn't find a way through as he did last lap. Could the number 28. He's going to tuck it in behind the 54. He's got the run on him though. Into turn 4, he's surely going to make a move to retake the lead. Again shows his front wheel. Aldeguer will run wide, and as a result, Guevara will pick his pocket and retake the lead at the battle of this one. As you say, Elliot, interesting to keep your eye on the battle for third place. It was 2.8 seconds. It feels as if they are out of contention, but with 7 laps to go, if these two continue as they are, they've got every chance of closing in on them.
Yeah, it's nearly a 2-minute lap for these ETC riders, so it's a long lap. And yeah, like you say, 6.5 laps to go. Plenty of time for this to sort itself out, and these two are going to continue battling until the flag.
Again, Guevara was ever so slightly wide through turn 7 and just had to pick it up through turn 8, which allowed Aldeguer to close in on him. He's lost all his momentum then through turn 9 and down the back straight, but he just about holds on to keep hold of the lead as we go through turn 10. There's the fan club for Firmin Aldeguer in their bright yellow. Will there be smiles on the faces of those guys in 6.5 laps time? We'll have to wait and see, but despite closing in on Guevara at quite some pace, Aldeguer hasn't been able to break clear and continue his charge forward.
Yeah, Guevara's reacted really well to Aldeguer closing him down as they complete another lap. But I think, like we've seen on the previous couple of laps, Aldeguer is going to get the slipstream pull out. That's tight on the edge of the track, and yeah, he's got by, but can he hold it into turn 1? You can definitely count your money on Guevara braking late and going for that race leads.
Yeah, there he goes. Up the inside in turn 1, big moment, and he runs wide, and that's going to allow Aldeguer to break clear. Now half a second up the road. All the pressure on Guevara now. It's the first mistake he's made in this one with 6 laps remaining, and it's 0.7 of a second the advantage for Firmin Aldeguer with 6 laps to go. Can Guevara react, or is that the moment that hands the victory towards Firmin Aldeguer?
It could be, yeah, like you say, it's interesting to see now how Guevara reacts. That was just a slightest twitch on the rear wheel and the braking, but it sent him wide enough to have now a 0.8 second deficit to the race leader. Can he reel him back in, as we see Fallon attempting to move the inside of Sacco, but not quite into turn 5, as the battle for the final podium position remains a good one between these 4 riders.
We've almost forgotten about it, the fact that the fight to the front has been so good. We've completely disregarded the fact that we've got Fallon, Rueda, Milan, Sacco all battling for third place. Sacco holds it at the moment, but Fallon is right up his backside and he's going to get a good run through turn 9 and surely a move then into turn 10. Meanwhile at the front there has been a reaction come from Guevara because that gap is much closer than the 0.8 of a second it was at the exit of turn 2 half a lap ago.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up closing him down, if I'm honest. Half a second, yeah, the fastest sector 3 we've seen of the race so far. So Guevara is on a charge after that mistake at turn 1, and it looks like he's pretty much back with him. So can he get the draft into turn 1 this time around as they go down the straight, and hopefully not get it wrong under braking? We'll see.
That is brilliant stuff from Izan Guevara. After a mistake like that, having led the race all the way without any problems, to have someone come past, make a mistake, and they then break clear to set the fastest third sector of the race and the fastest fourth sector of the race, catch him and pass him for a 14-year-old kid. Quite impressive.
Absolutely, all in one lap as well as he come down into turn 1. All sorted this lap.
This time he gets it right. This time he cements the move to retake the lead on Fermin Aldeguer. We probably said a little bit too early that that was the move that was going to settle the race, because Guevara's closed straight back in and made his move on Aldeguer. Now the question asks, having closed in on Aldeguer as quick as he had, does Guevara have the pace to break clear, or will we see a reaction come from Aldeguer? A cracking race this one, still 5 laps to go. Meanwhile in the battle for third place, it's the second of the Cuna Campione squad machines of De Giro Sacco that's there in third at the moment, Rueda for company, but up the front it's Guevara leading Aldeguer.
Yeah, I think both the battle for first and the battle for the final podium position are going to go down to the wire, which is excellent, as Guevara and Aldeguer a line astern through the left, through the right of turn 7 and 8 up to turn 9. The fast sweeping right-hander, is that a back marker I saw just sweeping through the shot? I think it could be. No, my eyes deceive me, I don't know what that was then. But is the second place man going to make a move into turn 10? I think he is, lining up alongside. No, Guevara late on the brakes, excellent from the number 28, but is he going to run wide? He is.
Yeah, ran wide. Guevara hands the lead back to Aldeguer. We've got a great ride through turn 9 and put the pressure on Guevara, forcing him into a mistake there to run wide at turn 10. Not as costly as the one at turn 1 a lap ago, which saw him 0.8 in arrears. He can just settle back into second place as they now come through the final corner to make it 4 laps remaining. Incidentally, Guevara looking for a third consecutive European Talent Cup win, whilst Aldeguer, the number 54, yet to stand on the top step of the podium. He's tasted podium success with 2 third-place finishes in the European Talent Cup last season, but never has he come across the line in first place.
Yeah, that was interesting to see there coming out the final corner, which is going to be pivotal on the last lap. 0.010 of a second split them over line. So it is possible to get the run from...
Brave move, I was going to say, from Guevara. Barely enough space at turn 3 to squeeze up the inside. He tried it before, and this time he tried it again, and there was definite contact there, because there was a look over the shoulder, I'm sure, of disgust from Aldeguer at the fact that Guevara tried to squeeze up the inside when there wasn't much room whatsoever there. How fortunate is Guevara to have stayed on the bike, because normally when a rear wheel touches the front wheel there's only one winner, but somehow he stays on, and somehow we've still got this fight for the lead raging on. 3.5 laps remaining, and it's as close as it has been. Yeah,
you could see in the box of Guevara's team there, heads in hands. They knew how close that was to an absolute disaster for the man in second, but we've still got a battle on for first. What a battle it is as well as they come through turn 9 and down into turn 10. Is Guevara going to make a move as Aldeguer? He's got to be careful on the green stuff. If you do it too often, you're going to get a time penalty or a long lap penalty.
But it's cost him his drive getting out onto the green stuff there, because although he's on the outside, Guevara has got the better run. He's going to try hold on. Oh, a bit of a bobble from Aldeguer. I just thought for a minute he was going to tuck the front there, but just about holds on. And Guevara's better line around the outside, and the bobble from Aldeguer means that he can retake the lead. I've lost count how many times these two have swapped leads so far in this one, but we're into the final part of the lap. Turn 14, then hard onto the brakes before getting on the gas at turn 14, and that will mean we've got 3 laps remaining. And again, as you say, Elliot, it's going to be interesting to see who has the better run out of there, and whether it will be possible for anyone to drag the other man to the line. As it come across this time around, is it possible? Oh, just about. Ivan Guevara held on that occasion by 93 thousandths of a second. But even if you are leading, if you get a good run out of turn 14, you can certainly come under threat as Aldeguer retakes the lead. Meanwhile, the battle for third place. Sacco holds it with Fallon in third. That's Milan there in fourth, and Rueda back in sixth place. In terms of the gap behind, 2.3 adrift, so with 3 laps remaining, I don't think they're going to close in and get involved in the fight for the lead.
No, I don't think they are either. I'll tell you what, Guevara loves that nice, sharp inside line at turn 3 to get past Aldeguer. Once again, he's nailed that move down to a T, and he now leads the race once more.
Oh, but a bit of a wide line into turn 5. He's just going to get back to the apex. As we mentioned earlier, that is so downhill as they go through turn 5 there. It's very, very tricky on the run down, but he just about got it stopped in Guevara to hold on to the lead. This is battle for third place, with Sacco still holding on at the moment. Meanwhile, at the front, you can see Guevara, the orange levers of the number 28, still out front. Similar levers for that man in third place, the number 74 of De Giro. Sacco, the same team, the Cuna de Campione squad, looking for a debut podium finish for himself, the number 74, who actually broke his fib and tib back in January, so his slightly disappointing results at the start of the season were due to the fact that he's still coming back to 100% fitness, but due to the way he's been fighting in this one, I think you can definitely say that he's back to 100%.
Yeah, this is excellent stuff from all 4 riders in this battle for third. Not quite enough for the race win, it looks like, but nevertheless a cracking effort from all 4 of Sacco, Fallon, Milan and Rueda. This is going to go right down to the wire. Let's see who can get the slipstream down the long front straight between the top 2 as we cut to them. It's the number 54 of Aldeguer, the slipstream. Look at that. 2
laps to go. Slipstream from Aldeguer will see him retake the lead with just 2 laps of the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for us to enjoy. The number 28 of Guevara has to tuck in behind the 54 of Aldeguer now as they flick right and then left, as we've seen so often before. Is Guevara going to look for that move on the inside into turn 3? He definitely is, and he pulls it off once again as well. As we get on to the final lap, you would have to say that Aldeguer is going to have to be careful about that one. But the fact that he does run ever so slightly wide because of coming in so narrow on the entry does leave a bit of an opportunity for Aldeguer, and I think if he senses it's going to come, he might be able to pull it back at the second apex to get back under the inside of him. Yeah, agreed. Aldeguer did run, I think, noticeably wide at that time, but because of, like you say, he gets the run, and turn 4 is a great passing opportunity. So, yeah, 2 laps to go on the last lap. I think we can see another one of those things coming to the fore, but the number 28 Guevara leads. We're going to have to try focus on 2 battles, because the one for third place is going to go right down to the wire as well, but obviously we'll concentrate on the fight for the lead, which is currently held by Izan Guevara, the championship leader. He won first race in Valencia and the second one as well. It'd be 3 back-to-back victories if he can hold on, but Fermin Aldeguer, looking for a debut European Talent Cup win himself, has got other ideas. Meanwhile, in the battle for third place, there goes Lorenzo Fallon. He has never stood on the podium in the European Talent Cup, but he's looking likely to do it this time around. And there's Marcos Tapia with a bit of an error. I think that's on the run of turn 5, but back at the front, we've just got a couple of corners to go on this penultimate lap of the race, and then we'll be on to the final lap here in Barcelona, with Guevara surely leading over the line, but Aldeguer is tucked in behind on the run into turn 1. You'd have to say Aldeguer is favourite. He moves away from Guevara instead of taking the slipstream, but we've seen so often Aldeguer is strong into turn 1. He really is. This is now where it all counts for the 2 leaders, and the battle for third as well. They're not too far behind, but here we go. Line astern into turn 1. It is Guevara who holds it from Aldeguer. Is he ever so slightly wide? No, he just about holds on. If Aldeguer had led, you knew that a move was going to come from Guevara into that turn 3. Meanwhile, it's Milan that has taken third place onto the last lap. Sacco in company with Rueda there as well. Back at the front, here comes Aldeguer on the inside. The move into turn 4. Can he make it stick? He's alongside him, but he thinks against it. He's going to wait for later in the lap. So Guevara still holds on to it. Half a lap remaining. We've got turn 5 coming up. We've seen a move from Aldeguer so far in this race on the run into here, but he's not close enough. So Guevara will lead. Meanwhile, in the battle for third place, it's still Milan that holds on, with Rueda there in 4th. It is Sacco, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it is Sacco, the Cuna de Campione's bike. If Myers don't see me, definitely holding third place in a minute. But here we are, back with the front two, running slightly wide. There was Guevara. It's going to come down to turn 10, I think, Jack.
Mistake, I think, from Guevara there has allowed Aldeguer to close in. Turn 9, so pivotal. Who can get the best run out of here? Aldeguer back up onto the seat as quick as he can into the bubble. Can he get the slipstream in the run? And then on the brakes into turn 10. Here he comes. There's a lunge coming. Can he park it up the inside of Guevara? Yes, he can. Rully one wide. Guevara looks to get back under the inside as they go into turn 11. Can he squeeze through? Oh, he's trying his best and just gets his elbows out.
Wide.
He runs wide. Aldeguer will now slip up the inside. There's not enough room there. He'll try close the door. The rear wheel twitching on Aldeguer, but Guevara just about holds on. 2 corners remaining. Guevara leads. Will we see a last lap, last corner lunge from Aldeguer? No, we won't. It's Guevara that'll lead out the final corner, but who is going to take the checkered flag? Aldeguer tucks in behind. Surely Guevara has done it. Yes, he has. It's 3 wins on the bounce for Izan Guevara. What a ride from the number 28. Disappointment from Fermin Aldeguer to eventually take second, but a superb ride for him. What a race, and it's delight for the Cuna de Campione squad. Not only have they won the race, but Jajira Sacco takes his first podium place in the European Talent Club, just taking third by 43 1,000ths of a second over Alex Milan. Andres Koffler has crashed out on the final lap, but in the end that battle for third place going the way of 74 Jajira Sacco, celebrating with his teammate who won the race, with Jose Rueda in 5th, Alex Milan just in 4th, and Lorenzo Fallon back in 6th place. This was the incident on the last lap, just on the exit of turn 12, the front end just tucking away from Andreas Koffler. But for the 3rd time in a row, it's back-to-back-to-back victories for Izan Guevara, and it's a championship lead that will get extended even further by the number 28. The 14-year-old starting to dominate this series. It had to work for that one, though. Aldeguer putting him under all sorts of pressure, but it was that brave move into turn 11. He knew he had to dive straight back under the inside after Aldeguer had parked it at turn 10, and he made it stick. And it's always the case here at Barcelona. It is super tough to then find a way past at the final corners at 12, 13 and 14. And that proved to be the case. In the end, it was just 69 thousandths of a second. Disappointment for the fan club of Aldeguer as well, all in yellow. But they'll wave their flags for a 2nd place finish. Still a best result for him in this class after 2 3rd place finishes last season. And a best result for Jajira Sacco as well. Great ride from him to come out on top of that 4-rider scrap for 3rd place. Even closer than what we saw at the front. We didn't get to see much of the last lap. Oh, that's a shame for Fenton Seabright. He's gone down. Has he gone down on the outlap? I don't think it looks like he has just gone down now. It definitely will be the outlap because he's come across the line in the final points place in 15th. Oh, and he's had a coming together with someone there as Fenton Seabright. Hope he's okay. He has picked up a point, having come across the line in 15th, just 2,000ths of a second behind the man who was 2nd in the championship, Ivan Ortola. But he's had a bit of a coming together there as Fenton Seabright. Hopefully he's not too battered and bruised because he's got some British Talent Cup action to get on with when the World Superbike Championship go to Donington Park in about 3 weeks' time. With our focus on the European Talent Cup, we said it was going to be a group battle at the front. In the end, we just got 2 riders, but it definitely didn't disappoint. Guevara and Aldeguer swapping places lap after lap. It was a superb battle between the 2 young Spaniards, with Guevara eventually coming out on top. And when you look at his closest championship rivals, Ivan Ortola coming across the line in 14th, 2 points for him. Munoz coming across in 11th, just 5 points for him. De Geiger coming across in 10th, 6 points for him. He's already 10 clear of Ortola. The fact that he's picked up 25 and everybody else has been in single figures means he's going to take a real stranglehold of this championship series before we move on to Aragon and 2 races there in just over a month's time. Aldeguer has to settle for 2nd place. Great ride, great determination for the best of Capital Dubai man. Pushed Guevara all the way up to the final lap, and just to prove how hard those guys were going on the last lap, Aldeguer set the fastest 2nd sector of the race and then the fastest third sector of the race, but just when it mattered, Guevara set the fastest final sector of the race to take the race win. This is the race winning move. Elbows out, just squeezed up the inside. There was barely enough room there, but Guevara wasn't settling for second place. A great pass, he eventually ran wide, and Aldeguer himself trying to get back under the inside, but you can see just the slightest of twitches meant it got away from him. And in the end, despite his best to get tucked in behind Guevara, the start-finish line just came too early. Those are the scenes of a squad that had to settle for second place. Bitter disappointment from them, but delight for the number 28. A head bob, a tap on the head, a pump on the tank. Another victory going the way of Izan Guevara. And delight for Cuna de Campeones as well. Look at that, De Sacco holding up third place, and P1 for Guevara as well. I think there might be a party, obviously not for the European Talent Cup lads, because they're both 14. But I'm sure the mechanics might treat themselves to a beer tonight after picking up a double podium finish. Very shortly we'll be hearing from the race winner and the championship leader, Izan Guevara. You can see just getting marshalled over to my man, Elliot York, who's down in Parc Ferme. And he'll be speaking to him very shortly. There he is. Delight for Guevara. Great to hear his thoughts after a third win in a row. And now we can go down to Parc Ferme to hear from him alongside Elliot.
Fantastic race. How do you feel?
Sí, la verdad que sí, ha sido una carrera impresionante. Yo solo tengo un tema para hablar, que esta carrera se dedica a su familia, a la familia de Andreas y a Andreas, que ahora va a hacer un año que ha tomado rumbo para el cielo, y bueno, que estaba por ti, Andreas. Gas.
Gracias.
Izan Guevara dedicated here in Barcelona to the late Andreas Perez, 12 months on from the tragic incident here. What better way to honour his name than to pick up your third win in a row? But it was a great fight at the front. We thought he was going to get away with it straight away from pole position. Izan Guevara opened out a 1.5 seconds lead, but Fermin Aldeguer eventually made his way through to second place and started to reel him in. The battle for third place was super close as well, with Aldeguer setting 2 fastest laps of the race to eventually pull in and then move past Guevara. But Guevara had other ideas, moving straight back past the turns 7 and 8, and the pair then would continue to swap places lap after lap, corner after corner. This move and mistake from Guevara possibly handing the victory to Aldeguer. It allowed him to move 0.8 of a second clear, but Aldeguer got tucked in, and despite trying his best to hold on to that 0.8 of a second advantage, it would be Guevara that would eventually close in, and despite another tight call through turn 3 as he tried to make another move for the lead, onto the final lap it would be Guevara in second place, but at elbows out, aggressive move into turn 11 saw him hit the front. He ran wide, Aldeguer tried to get back under the inside, but the number 28 held on to take his third win of the season and extend his championship lead in the European Talent Cup. In the end, it was delight for the Cuna de Campeones squad, with De Sacco taking the close fight for third place by just a handful of a thousandths of a second. Thurston third for the Cuna de Campeones team. And you can see the final results now going the way of Guevara. Just 69 1,000ths of a second clear of Aldeguer. 2 seconds back on them was De Sacco, who took his first podium of the season of his career in this championship. Alex Milan, who himself does have a podium finish, will have to wait a little bit longer to add number 2 to his trophy cabinet. Rueda, they're not far behind in 5th, and Lorenzo Fallon eventually just got tailed off on the final lap in that 4-rider dice for 3rd place. David Alonso came through to 7th, a good ride from him. Further down the field, Dirk Geiger was holding 2nd for the vast majority of the opening stages before getting shuffling backwards to 10th. And you can see the man who won the opening 2 rounds of the season, Ivan Ortola, there in 14th. 2 points for him, but he's losing touch with Guevara in the championship lead. Fenton Seabright, the final point scorer, despite a tumble on the slow down lap. Further down the field, Diogo Moreira, that's a good ride from him in the end. Remember, he was the man who had to start from pit lane as a result of a couple of problems as we're about to get underway, so he couldn't salvage any points, but 19th nonetheless from starting from pit lane is not to be sniffed at. Shows some good data for the squad of Estrella Galicia. 3 machines in that one. And here come the Cuna de Campeones team member who will pick up the team awards alongside him. two of his riders, Tajira Sacco in third place, Izan Guevara on the top step of the podium in the best of Capital Dubai squads, Fermin Aldeguer in second place. The first trophy will go the way of Mr. Cuna de Campeones. Third time in a row he's managed to pick up one of them awards thanks to the exploits of Guevara. Following that is a first podium finish and a first trophy for the collection of Tajira Sacco, making his debut in the championship this year. Sacco picks up his first trophy. He'll be hoping to follow that up in the Red Bull Rookies when they get back in action at Assen in 3 weeks' time. Fermin Aldeguer, best finish for him. Not that it'll be much consolation after missing out so narrowly on the race win, but second place for Aldeguer. A great ride from him and a second podium finish of the season. But for the third time this year, and the third time in a row, it's starting to become domination in the European Talent Cup Championship by this man, Izan Guevara. He raises his fingers to the sky in honour of Andreas Press, his close friend. And it's 3 wins in a row for Guevara as he takes control of the championship. A check, as is customary from Repsol, as a result. Again, it's not too much of a distance for him to travel home for Izan Guevara. And now we wait for the Spanish national anthem for Guevara.
The national anthem ringing out there for your race winner, as the youngsters now get to spray the fizzy water. They're not old enough to, of course, spray the proper bubbly on champagne, but on the podium, sorry, but that will come later in their racing careers, I'm sure. Some great talents in the European Talent Cup, as always. And next on the agenda is the second race for the Moto3 Junior World Championship riders, as we now take a look at the championship standings after the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya round, and it's Izan Guevara leading the way on 89 points, a comfortable margin over second place finisher here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, Fermin Aldeguer. Ivan Ortola there picking up a couple of points for third place in the championship, 33 now off your race winner here and your championship leader. Dirk Geiger fourth, David Munoz fifth, both in the 50 bracket. Tajira Sacco getting his way up to 10th in the championship after a very good podium for the Japanese man here in Barcelona, Diogo Moreira. A good ride after a disappointing start, having to start from pit lane for the Brazilian Lorenzo Felon. Another good ride for the Frenchman. As we look down the order, Marcus Uriarte, Palazzi, Rodriguez, Alfano, Verdugo, Avila, Tapia and Detweiler. Rounding out the championship standings for your European Talent Cup 2019. Conditions remain cloudy at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. And as I just mentioned, next on track are the Moto3 boys again. Pit lane to open at 2 o'clock local time, which is around 2 minutes to go, with a race start at 2:15. Who will win race 2, Jack? It was a dramatic race 1 to say the least, with, well, 3 of the leaders crashing out, including Dennis Ernchu, who again, not the weekend so far he'd have been looking for. Started on pole, had incredible pace in qualifying. But yeah, nothing he can do, to be fair, about the crash. Aleix View high siding out of turn 5 with Artigas and Denis Earnshaw nowhere to go as all three crashed out of contention.
Yeah, he's been very unlucky as Denis Earnshaw so far this season. 4 DNFs to his name, 4 non-score finishes. 2 of them his fault, crashed at Estoril in the wet weather, and whilst pushing for a race win in Valencia, high-sided in the early stages, but the other 2 opportunities, again whilst at the front of the race, a breakdown with 2 laps to go in Valencia, and then absolutely no room whatsoever as a result of the high side from Aleix View in the first race at this one. He has been very unlucky, but as a result of that, and as a result of both Alcoba and Baltus getting onto the podium, you have to think that even at this early stage, the championship is slowly but surely moving out of reach for him.
Yeah, it really is, and we've mentioned previously today that he was one of the favourites coming into this 2019 Moto3 Junior World Championship, and it's just not gone for him, unfortunately, for the Turk rider. But we go again this afternoon. Hopefully he's starting from pole again. Hopefully he can get the launch like he did in the first race, because he was leading before the red flag.
Yeah, does get the opportunity to go again, which he is running out of opportunities now. With just the 1 race at Aragon in a month's time, he has to pick up points here. But the Junior World Championship final race of the day is on the way next.